Hey everyone, welcome to part 1.5 of our mini course for ethical hackers. In this quick video, we are going to talk about some important protocols that every ethical hacker needs to know. Let's get started. Alright, now we are continuing on with our mini course for aspiring ethical hackers. So if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and watch the first two videos in this series. As I mentioned in those videos, the goal of this mini course is not to turn you into an expert ethical hacker overnight. There are no shortcuts to becoming a good ethical hacker. It takes a lot of hard work, dedication, and time. However, we want to make sure you have a good foundation to build upon so that you don't fall too far behind during your studies. We're also going to show you how to use a few tools to do the things we talked about in the last lesson. Now, before we move any further, let me remind you that all of the course material is available for free on our website. If you're enjoying this content and would like to support us even more, please consider making a donation through the link in the description below. And one more thing, this channel is not about hacking. It's about ethical hacking. Always make sure you have permission before attempting any of the things we do here. So in lesson 1.1, we introduced you to some very important topics. One of them was the different types of attacks that can be carried out by hackers. Now we are going to revisit this topic. But instead of talking about the different types of attacks, we're going to talk about some of the most common protocols hackers use when carrying out their attacks. Knowing these protocols will help you identify attacks while they're re-happening and prevent them from occurring in the first place. As we mentioned in the last lesson, hackers operate within networks just like anyone else. To communicate with other computers within a network, they need to use protocols. A protocol is basically a set of rules that allow computers to communicate with each other. You can think of it like a language. For example, English is a protocol. Of course, it's not really a programming language. English is a natural language. But the point is both programmers and regular people use it to communicate with one another. The same goes for computers. Hackers use the same protocols as everybody else, which means you need to know them inside and out. This way you'll know what's happening on your network at all times. Let's take a look at some of the most commonly used protocols. First up is TCP, which stands for Transmission Control Protocol. This protocol is responsible for establishing a connection between two devices over an internet network. Once a connection is established, TCP ensures data is transferred reliably. Next is UDP, or User Datagram Protocol. It's similar to TCP, except it does not establish a connection before transferring data. Think of it like sending a letter without an address. UDP is connectionless. Now that doesn't mean it's not reliable. If it was important that the data arrived, we could use checksums to make sure it did. Otherwise, if it wasn't important, then we wouldn't bother. You see, sometimes speed is more important than reliability. Next up is ICMP, or Internet Control Message Protocol. It's used by network devices such as Reuters to send error messages and other information. One of the most well-known functions of ICMP is ping. Ping uses ICMP echo requests to check whether a host is reachable through the network. If the host is reachable, the destination replies with an ICMP echo reply message. Pretty cool. By the way, you can use the ping command on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS to test connectivity. Next up is IP, or Internet Protocol. All of the protocols we've covered so far rely on IP. IP is responsible for addressing and routing data packets over the internet. It's kind of like the postal service. It takes your letter and delivers it to the right address. Next is DNS, or Domain Name System. It translates human-readable domain names to IP addresses. For example, if you type Google.com into your browser, DNS will translate that into the IP address 172.217, 160.142. Now that's just one of many IP addresses for Google, but you get the idea. Without DNS, you'd have to memorize the IP address of every site you visit. That would be pretty difficult. Next is DHCP, or Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. DHCP assigns IP addresses and other network settings to devices on a network. Most home and office networks use DHCP to automatically assign IP addresses to devices. Next is FTP, or File Transfer Protocol. FTP is used to transfer files between computers. You may have used FTP to download files from a website in the past. Next up is SSH, or Secure Shell. SSH is used to create a secure connection between two computers over an unsecure network. This allows you to log into a remote computer and run commands as if you were sitting in front of it. Next is HTTP, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol. HTTP is used to transfer data on the web. When you visit a website, your computer sends an HTTP request to the web server. The web server then sends an HTTP response back to your computer. This response contains the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that make up the website you're viewing. And finally, we have HTTPS, which is just like HTTP, except it uses SSL/TLS to encrypt the connection. Nowadays, it's much more common to use HTTPS than HTTP. If a website doesn't use HTTPS, you might see a warning in your browser. Now there are plenty of other protocols out there, but these are some of the most important ones for ethical hackers to know. You should also know the port numbers for each of these protocols. A port is a software-defined communication endpoint. Each port has a unique number. For example, ports 20 and 21 are used for FTP, 22 for SSH, 23 for Telnet, 80 for HTTP, and 443 for HTTPS. I recommend creating a flashcard set for all of the important protocols and port numbers. If you're not familiar with flashcards, I recommend downloading the Anki app. It's a spaced repetition software that helps you learn and remember new things easily. Now we've talked about all of the major protocols. Let's take a look at a tool that can help us find open ports on a computer. The name of the tool is NMAP, which stands for Network Mapper. NMAP is an open source tool used for network exploration and security auditing. It uses a variety of techniques to identify hosts and services on a network. One of the most common uses of NMAP is port scanning. Port scanning is the process of identifying open ports on a computer. Open ports can be exploited by attackers to gain access to a system. NMAP can scan a range of ports to determine which ones are open. To install NMAP on Windows, you can download it from the official website. Once NMAP is installed, you can scan a host by typing the following command into the terminal. Replace target IP with the IP address of the computer you want to scan. Now this will scan the 10 most common ports. If you want to scan all ports, you can add the A option to the command. Let's take a look at the output. NMAP will give you a list of open ports along with the services that are running on those ports. You can see that port 22 is open for SSH and port 80 is open for HTTP. That's it for this quick introduction to NMAP. There are many other options and features that we didn't cover. If you're interested in learning more about NMAP, I recommend checking out the documentation. There are also plenty of other tools and techniques for port scanning. NMAP is just one of many. And that's it for this video. If you enjoyed the content, please consider supporting us. Also be sure to check out the other videos in our mini course. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below. We'll do our best to answer each and every one of them. And finally, if you want to receive updates about future videos, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.